Hi everybody, welcome back. So today I have another first impressions video for you. I have quite a few new things to try today. I have some things from Zoeva, a new foundation from Clinique, Colourpop, which is very exciting. They actually sent me some stuff over from the US, so I'm looking forward to trying that, as well as giving you my instant first impressions. I'm also going to come back later on at the end of the day so you guys can see how everything has worn. So let's just get straight into it. I'm going to start with the first new launch that I have here, which is from Clinique, and it's their new Beyond Perfecting foundation, and this is supposedly supposed to be a concealer as well as a foundation, which I found really intriguing. I am all about time saving when it comes to makeup these days, so anything that's gonna just cut things down, stop me using so many products, is gonna be great. I don't actually have a concealer with me, so I hope this is good enough to cover everything that I want it to. So this actually comes with a really cool little fat doe foot applicator, something that you would see in a normal concealer but just jumbo sized. So I think I'm just going to go straight in and put this on my face. This feels really strange. I'm not used to applying foundation like this. I think that's going to be enough. That's probably quite a lot considering this is supposed to be a full coverage foundation. So I have this shade Linen. I hope that's going to be a good match for me. And I'm going to blend it in with a Real Techniques blending sponge. So what I'm seeing so far is that this is quite a matte finishing foundation, or I'd say it's more satin actually. It's not looking completely powdery, which is good because I really don't want that. It has a little bit of a sheen. I'm not sure if that's because I've got quite a lot of moisturiser on right now. I'm not getting much spread out of it, so I feel like I'm going to have to apply it a little bit more. Let me blend in what I have and then we'll see. I think this is quite common with full coverage foundations, and they're just a little bit thicker, so therefore harder to blend. So I'm not getting quite as much out of this as I probably would like. So I'm going to put a little bit more on. I'm going to put this on the back of my hand actually. I'm just a lot more used to working with foundation that way. Now that it's actually on there, I can see that this is a very thick, not runny at all kind of foundation. So I'm going to put that on the rest of my face. I think this colour match is okay. It's not the best. You can see on my neck here. That actually happens with most of my foundations because my neck is just about 10 times paler than my face for some reason. So now that I've got a good kind of base layer of foundation, I'm actually going to use this in place of concealer. So let's put it under my eyes. And as you can see, I'm putting a lot more on than I did on my face, but this is just how I generally use concealer. So I'm going to use it in the same way as I normally would do. And then on the red patches on my nose, down the bridge of my nose, anything else that just needs to go. I think around the face this is going to be amazing. It's going to cover up everything that I would usually conceal on my face, but under my eyes I like to use something a bit lighter and a bit more brightening, so it might not be quite as light under there as I like it to be usually, but I'm hoping it's going to cover up dark circles because it's just very, very pigmented. Okay, let's take a look. I'm gonna have a little closer look in a mirror here. I'm actually so impressed at the way this has not only covered my skin and the luminosity it's given. It's so radiant. What I said about it being really matte before, I definitely don't think that's true. I think that was just because I hadn't got enough product on my skin. Looking at this now, it just looks really flawless, very poreless and smooth, but it's kind of like a satin to a glowy finish, which I love. That's my favourite kind of finish for a foundation. I would happily go out like this without having touched concealer, especially under my eyes. I'm surprised at how brightening it is. I think that's down to the nice luminosity that it has. It's really brightened underneath there, which I'm always looking for in concealers. I am seriously impressed by this. I do like Clinique foundations. They have such a great range, and there's quite a few from there that I just love. They're some of my favourites, so I'm not really that surprised that they've turned out another good one. So I have something new to set that with as well. I'm going to use a new powder from Mer. I've been wanting to try this powder for a really long time, and they've recently reformulated it and repackaged it, so I decided to pick one up. This powder is ridiculously expensive. It's one of those super splurgy, really luxury items, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. I'm really into my loose powders nowadays, and if it's terrible, I'm the one that's wasted my money. The first thing I notice about this is that it does have a lot of colour to it. It's a very kind of peachy looking powder. So what I'm going to do is actually set this underneath my eye. I'm going to take a little bit on my beauty blender, and I'm kind of baking, but I'm not going to leave it on very long. I'm still yet to master the whole contouring baking kind of thing. So I'm just going to put quite a thick layer under there, but I'm not going to leave it on too long. I have noticed though, doing this really makes a difference if you have quite hard to cover dark circles. For some reason, just setting underneath of the powder and leaving quite a thick layer on for a little bit makes such a difference. So I definitely recommend doing that if you have dark circles. So I'm also going to take a little bit of this into the lid on a fluffy powder brush. Can you see that going everywhere? It's like a cloud of powder. That's about £5 just floating in the air right now. I'm also really loving this brush for powder. It's the MAC 135. It's not too densely packed, so it really puts powder on nicely. And you get a really lovely thin layer of it. So I've been really loving this brush for powder. One thing to definitely note about this powder, it is incredibly messy. My entire table here is just covered in it, including my laptop and everything. I also feel like it's in my mouth too, which I hate. It's just gone everywhere. But apart from that, I think this looks really, really nice. I still have a lot of sheen in my skin, which I definitely like to have even after I powdered. I have quite dry skin, so I don't often get oily, so I don't need my powders to be super, super matte. So if you have oily skin, this might be completely different for you, but I really like the way this looks. It actually doesn't look like I have powder on at all. The only thing I'm seeing is this tiny little bit of creasing here, which I think might be a little bit more down to the foundation than the actual powder. But apart from that, I'm very happy. It's always hard to judge whether or not it's worth spending a lot of money on a product, and powder is one of those things that I think might be enough of a staple that you can justify it. So we'll see. I'm just putting a little bit of bronzer on. This is just Benefit's Hoola, and I'm actually noticing how smoothly this is going on, which definitely speaks a lot for the base that it's going on top of. So I have something very fun next, and these I actually got in the post, and I just thought they were super, super cool and I had to talk about them. So these are from Zoeva, and they're called Strobing gels. I actually have 3 of these here, and they're basically highlighters in a gel, which I thought was a really, really cool idea for a formula. The 3 colours I have are Halo, which is a really frosty kind of light pink shade. I have Aureole, which is kind of more of a bronzy, slightly goldy, coppery shade, and then Corona, which is in the middle. It's sort of more of a champagne-y kind of pink with something quite warm in there as well, and that is what they look like all together. So I think I'm gonna go for this middle shade. These just look so cool. They're basically like highlighting pigments suspended in gel. Actually, now that I've opened this one, it looks a little bit more pink. The texture is kind of runny, but a little bit hard at the same time. I really haven't ever felt something like this. It's really strange. It doesn't quite give that intense, super kind of mirrored looking finish that a lot of the highlighter powders that I use can do, but I like it. It's subtle. It's definitely more subtle. I'm gonna put some on the other side. I'm going to use my finger this time. I don't really love using my finger with products like this, but we'll see if it makes a difference. I think this actually gives it a bit more pigment. It's also more of a precise application too than the big fat sponge. Still subtle though, still kind of light and shimmery, but not intense. So first thoughts on the Zoeva Strobing Gel, not quite as intense as I thought it would be. I'm not sure if I'm just used to having extremely over-dramatic highlighter, but I think this is great if you don't like that look. If you want something a bit more natural, a bit more pared back. This has 0 noticeable shimmer in it, 0 glitter, which I think is great. So maybe for a more subtle look, these could be really, really cool. But I do want to put more highlighter on. I love my highlighter and I just feel a bit bare without it. I don't feel glowy and luminous enough. So also from Zoeva, I have 3 eyeshadow palettes here. I'm not sure how I'm going to choose between these, but these actually came in a set together. I think it's part of their Christmas range, but they're all based around chocolate. So we have white chocolate, dark chocolate, and milk chocolate. I'm already sold. I'm there. It's chocolate. So the first one is Blanc Infusion. This one is obviously a little bit lighter. Has this crazy yellow, which I think is really cool. It's kind of like a shimmery mustard yellow. And these top shades are all matte, so it's kind of more neutral, a bit more subtle. I really love the look of these 2 shimmery metallic ones, and you also get quite a light white shimmer in there as well. The second one is called Caramel Melange, and this one is really warm toned. I think it is beautiful. It's got some amazing rusty shades in there, some nice kind of like terracotta-y browns, and almost kind of like a pinky shade, which I would actually use as a blusher as well. I think that's really cool. And then this one here again is another really intense colour, which I haven't ever actually seen in an eyeshadow palette. It's almost like a corally red. And then the third one, which is called the Cocoa Blend, this just kind of speaks to me. This is all my kind of favourite shades. Slightly more cool tones and a lot more shimmers in here as well. This shade here really reminds me of Cranberry from MAC, and that is one of my all-time favourite eyeshadows. And then this kind of cool toned bronzy brown is really, really cool. And then these rusty blending shades I think are going to be really lovely. So I kind of want to use this one. Okay, I'm not going to go for the obvious choice. I'm going to use the middle palette here, the Caramel Melange palette. The thing I'm immediately noticing about these palettes is that there is no mirror. And I feel like that is going to be slightly frustrating. So I think I'm going to start with this really light colour here. This is called Universal Delight, just to kind of map out some depth in the crease of my eye. So this is one of the matte shades. And as you can see there, as I've just put way too much on, it's really pigmented. And actually it's blending really nicely. Sometimes matte shades can be super tricky to blend. So I'm going to use this darker matte shade as well. This one is called Finish Sensual, and do the same thing but put it in the outer part of my crease, so just to darken that up a little bit. I basically do the exact same steps when I put eyeshadow on, so there's nothing new going on here. This colour here is really calling out to me, so I'm going to pack this all over my lid. This is called Liquid Center. I'm going to use kind of quite a flat brush with this. These shadows are so pigmented. I'm just super impressed with these. This is a beautiful shade. It's kind of like coppery brown, metallic shimmery goodness. I mean, look at that. That is just insane. That is super copper, like a pure copper pigment in a pressed eyeshadow. So lastly, I'm going to take a little bit of this golden shade and just pop that into the inner corner of my eye because I feel like that needs something there. It's getting a little bit too orange. I wasn't planning on putting eyeliner on, but I think there's just a lot of warmth going on here. So I'm just going to quickly put a thin line of the Balm's Schwing liner on, which is my fave liquid liner. First impressions on these eyeshadows, wow. Seriously, wow. From the shades to the pigmentation, to the balance of colours in here, and also the blendability, these are amazing. I would say these are comparable to MAC eyeshadows in that you have that kind of range of colours and different sort of shades, but they are just so much better. MAC eyeshadows in general I think are a bit overrated and definitely overpriced, and these palettes are not expensive at all. They are very reasonably priced, so I think definitely check these out if you want some good eyeshadows. And I'm just all over this copper eye. I think it is amazing. So last product, we finally got to the last product of this video. This is probably the one that I am the most excited about. This is from Colourpop, and it's one of their ultra matte lip creams. Lipstick, something like that. I've heard so much about these. They're apparently very comparable to the Kylie Jenner ones, or they're made in the same factory or something. Don't know why I'm doing this. So this is actually part of the Hello Kitty collection, which I think is super cute. Make of that what you will, but I just thought this was an insane looking red. It's a really orangey tone red, but at the same time it's not too far on the side of yellow. It's still a very true red, so I think this is just going to be an amazing festive colour. And I'm also just so dying to try out this formula of lipstick, so I'm just going to go straight in and put this on. Let's ignore for a second the super poor job I did of applying that. I mean, I got it all over my hands and everything. How did I manage that? The colour came out so differently than I expected it to. It looks so much darker and richer on my lips. It looks like I have velvet on there. It's incredible. I love this colour so much. It's just the perfect dark red. You saw it just went on so pigmented. I didn't have to do a second coat. This is literally one coat with a few kind of little bits top where I couldn't draw my lips properly. And it's such a thin formula as well. It's super pigmented but really thin, so there's no cakiness on my lips. There's a slight moisture feeling, which I quite like. It's quite comfortable, but I'm obsessed with the way this looks. And yeah, I'm gonna need more of these. I've tried a lot of liquid lipsticks in my days. I've gone through many formulas, many brands. I've had this on for 3 minutes, so this is going to be a bit of a bold claim, but I'm going to say it. This is my favourite liquid lipstick ever. I'd really like to try out some of the lighter colours to see if they're as good as this really dark, rich red, but it's usually the bolder colours that do struggle when it comes to liquid lipstick. This isn't patchy at all. There's no kind of dark patches in places. So I am just wowed by this. I'm super wowed, and I've said that about quite a lot of these products. So I'm going to leave you here. It's about midday now, so I'm going to come back a lot later. Quick little time travel, and I will see you in a second. And I'm back, looking slightly more worse for wear. So what has happened since I filmed the last bit of this video? It's 6:30 now. It's been a good 6.5 hours. Obviously, the main thing you can probably see is the lipstick. This was completely intact and completely perfect up until I ate a huge baguette and some soup from Plaette today, and it couldn't have lasted. I don't think any lipstick could have lasted through that. So I'm quite impressed by that, actually. It took me shoveling a whole lot of food into my mouth to take most of this lipstick off, although it's still there. I still have a red lip on. Definitely this is the winner for me. I absolutely love it, and I really want to try out some more colours from Colourpop now. I hear they ship to the UK as well, so I might be heading towards the website tonight. For the foundation and the base, the only thing I've noticed is underneath my eyes here, it looks a little bit cakey, and I don't know if that's because I have the foundation under there or if it's the powder on top. Apart from that though, the rest of my face is the same. It hasn't changed. Everything has just stayed really flawless, and there's no shininess, there's no oiliness. In fact, my nose is pretty much shine free around here, which doesn't ever really happen, especially after something like 6 hours. The eyeshadows as well have not moved. They've just stayed perfect. There's no creasing. The colour is still there. It's still as bright and intense, and the sheen hasn't gone anywhere as well. So the Zoeva eyeshadows I'm really wowed by. I think they are great, and again, I just love the whole colour selection and the palettes. I'm really looking forward to trying some more things from those. The only thing that I think has disappeared from my skin is the Zoeva highlighters. I can't see them at all. They weren't that intense to begin with, but I think it's pretty much just faded away now, and there's a little bit of sheen, but I think that might just be from the foundation and just my skin in general. So they're probably the only thing I'm slightly disappointed by, because I had really high hopes for them. This always happens when I do a first impressions video. I love everything. But yeah, I think definitely the foundation, the eyeshadows, and this Colourpop matte lipstick are my favourites from all of these things. So that is it from this first impressions video. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a great Sunday, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!